Let's talk about Magical Girl Friendship Squad. This show has been the bane of my existence for the past month and a half. It's one of the worst things I've ever witnessed in my life, probably. And likely one of the worst things I ever will. The show is such an absolute train wreck on every single level, and it fails at every single thing it tries to do. It seems to market itself as a parody of magical girl anime, but as you watch it, you find that it does not attempt to provide any sort of commentary or even make a single joke at the expense of the genre. So then you start to believe that maybe it's just a standard, run-of-the-mill, adult animated comedy with a few references thrown in. But it doesn't even do that well. Every joke it tries to tell fails to land, and every reference it makes feels completely inconsequential and pointless. The characters are some of the most deplorable and insufferable human beings I've ever been presented with in any show I've ever seen. Not only are they just unbelievably cruel to people around them for literally no reason, they also somehow manage to be bland at the same time. Like, I can't tell you any specific character trait about either of the characters that actually amounts to anything. Our first main character is this girl here who looks like a Slim Jim mascot, who is basically your standard silly shenanigan starter character like Peter Griffin or Peter Griffin. In any other show, the second character would probably play like a straight man role. Her whole purpose would be to shut down the other's wacky scenarios and such. But in this show, the second character, who kind of looks like a Colgate mascot, basically just goes along with whatever the first one's doing with very little protest. So it really feels like she shouldn't even be there. They're practically the same character. And the other characters, well, they might as well not even be there either. We have a villain who is about as threatening as a piece of toast, but also manages to drop the only moment that I even kind of chuckled at in the entire show.
Timothy, give me strength. My usual. And I want horse milk, not goat milk.
Here, Corvin.
Corvin.
You call that horse milk?
I tell you every day that's not a thing, but...
Whoa, Pokemon Go has gotten really fucking good.
Shut up! Bitch!
While our tertiary protagonist, I'm not really sure. She's just kind of there. She's the ginger raccoon that gave them their powers, and then upon figuring out that they definitely were not worthy of said powers, did not take them back. So, yeah, she's kind of an idiot. She's also a goddess, but that doesn't really matter. It's never really drawn upon in any significant way. Also, she has a magical vacuum butthole, so that's a thing. Basically, she's an exposition machine. She's just there to tell the main characters what they need to know, when they need to know it, and then she doesn't exist anymore. The show seems to, unless the episode is revolving specifically around her, the show seems to just invent reasons why she can't be there. Which is fine. She has no reason for existing, as far as I'm concerned. So basically, most of the characters are just there. The only two who matter are the two main characters, and one of them doesn't really have her own unique personality. So that just bodes well for the whole show. Let's move on to the animation, which is abysmal. Everything about the way this show looks is acid to the eyes. From the walk cycle to just how the characters are drawn. Nothing looks right. I don't understand. Why is her head on her shoulder now? How did that man in the background just disappear when they zoomed in? Why do things look like this? Animation isn't my expertise. I don't have an expertise, I don't have any skills. But what I do know is when something I'm looking at really hurts my eyes. And this is an example of that. Also, the show has a lot of really jarring cuts. The editing is really bad in certain places. There's one part in like episode 3, I think, that just is so astoundingly bad. It's like they had to cut out like 2 minutes worth of footage and just didn't attempt to make it blend in an acceptable way. It was like a really jarring jump cut. I'll put it up right now so you can see. Hey, so turns out everything I said right there was false, actually. The awkward cut was only present in the crappy YouTube screen rip version that I watched because I didn't want to pay for this show. In the official version, it is not there. There is actually several, I think like a minute or so of footage that was cut out. So I went back and watched it to make sure I wasn't missing anything, and here's how that went.
Damn! Let's put up a firewall!
Placebo? Let there be blood. Wow, that's the first time my period has ever helped me.
And before you ask, yes, I did go back and watch all the other episodes as well to make sure I wasn't missing anything there, and I wasn't. They're all still just as terrible as I originally thought. I know that Sci-Fi, which is the channel that distributes this show, I know that it isn't exactly known for, quality. Pretty sure it's recognized. I'm pretty sure it's exactly the opposite. But do they have no quality control at all? Like, nobody caught that. Like, not only did they give a time slot to somebody who has literally no experience. If you look up the creator of the show, the only thing they've created is this show. As far as I can tell, they've had no work on animation or writing or anything before they started on this show. So they just gave a show to a complete nobody. They don't even take the time to look over this complete risk that they've taken and be like, hey, you should probably try so that we can make some of our money back on this, perhaps. This show is an anomaly. This show might be an SCP. It is so bizarre to me that this exists in the world. And there's a lot of TV shows and movies out there that in the past I've questioned why they existed. But I've lost sleep over questioning how this got made. Because there's nothing right about it. They did nothing in the correct way. And it got 6 episodes. Which is very low, but I mean, that's more episodes than I have, for example. Why don't you give me a TV show? If you're giving TV shows to nobodies, I'd appreciate it. I have some ideas. Now, you may be wondering, is there anything good about this show? And the answer is yes. The 4th episode, which was the last episode I watched, had a pretty good premise. It was fairly interesting. And in a better show, I feel like it could have been a standout episode. Basically, the plot of the episode was that Slim Jim gets an alien infection or something from a plant monster. I don't know where it came from, but it doesn't matter. And then she spreads it around the town, but it's the infection is basically mushrooms that grow off you and then repeat your insecurities into your ear all the time. Most of what I enjoyed about this episode is the various insults against the characters that I hate.
Rats!
Alex is riding. This numbskull's lived dick so hard it's coming out of her nose. Say,
Wow, you're a fucking loser.
slut. She knows you're a spoiled little mucus licker who doesn't deserve to shop in the regular price section. Go back to the clearance rack where you belong, you stubby-fingered grubworm.
If your student loans are getting bigger every second you sit here, dipshit!
But hey, at least I enjoyed something in this series, you know? But episode 4 is also the episode that contains what I think are the two worst things in this show. And that is the intro to the episode and a moment about, I don't know how long into the episode, but about like, let's say halfway through the episode, that just really brings to a point what I think is the worst quality of the show, and I'll get to that in a sec, but we're going to cover the intro of episode 4 first, because I think it's where a lot of the worst of the show really shines. So, we're immediately brought into this scene where the two protagonists are fighting a plant monster. And we are given absolutely no information about what's going on. Now you may think 4 episodes in, we should have some idea of what they're fighting against and where it comes from and blah 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 blah. But no, we don't at all. The villain does not seem to me to be able to produce monsters. There was one time where it was kind of implied that he did that, but he only did it once, and it was very unclear if he was actually involved at all. So this monster pretty much came from nowhere. I'm pretty sure it's described as an alien at one point. Or like an other dimension type thing. So, yeah, that's a thing now. That wasn't established before, and it's never talked about again. So, yeah, who knows. We're just kind of thrown right into the action here and given no explanation. And it would be fine if they maybe talked about what that was afterwards, but they just kind of kill it and then don't ever speak of it again. And just dump that for the new plot about the mushrooms and such. And it just, it really illustrates how weird this show's like editing is, and I feel like it's because each episode of the show is only around 11 minutes long, so I feel like a lot of the show just kind of gets dumped on like the cutting room floor, and I question why even restrict yourself to that runtime. That's not really enough time to get a lot done, so every episode ends up feeling really inconsequential, or it ends up feeling like everything's moving too fast, or certain things come out of nowhere. And I think that really is where all these like jarring cuts and stuff stem from, is the fact that they're for some reason restricted to this 11-minute runtime. I'm not saying making the episodes longer would make the show better, because I feel like it's just fundamentally flawed, but maybe it would help a little bit if the show went on for more than 11 minutes at a time. Just saying. Anyway, let's move on to what, in my opinion, is the worst thing in this entire show. And that is this scene right here. And I'm going to show you this. And I want to see if you can tell what in this scene is the worst. It was this thing. This thing right here. This is the thing that makes me most angry about this show, because it is everything that I hate about this show wrapped up into one character. Why does she exist? Why is she there? Is she just played for a reference? Is it just a reference? Because if it's a reference, you probably should have referenced something in that scene. But no, she's just there and she looks like Sailor Moon. That's the reference. But why isn't it called out? Why is it there? It's not a joke just because you hang on. I need to calm down. It's not a joke just because you drew a character that looks like Sailor Moon. That doesn't make anybody laugh. That's not funny. It'd be funny if you called that out in some way. It'd be funny if you did something with it. Maybe she could show up later as like a Tuxedo Mask type character because it is implied or directly stated that her and Slim Jim used to date. Maybe she could do something like that. But no, it's never addressed. She's just there. She's just there to piss me off. She exists just to exist. It wraps up in a neat bow all of the worst qualities of this show. Like the bizarre animation, the terrible referential humor that never lands, and the wasted potential is the worst. Because this concept, the concept of magical girls living in modern society and dealing with actual human issues, in the right hands, could be pretty funny, I think. Instead, we're left with this. You take a pretty okay concept, and you make this. This is the worst thing. This, I hate it more than I hate anything on this planet. And I hate a lot of things. This is the worst. And no matter how many episodes I do of this series, I don't know how many it's going to be at this point, but I guarantee you, let's say like 100 episodes in, this will still be the worst. I don't anticipate any other form of media coming out in the next few years that will ever top how much I hate this. Anyway, I've been trying to make this video for like a month and a half. And honestly, I could have put so much more effort into it, but a lot of dumb shit happens. Not only with this, but with my Little Nightmares series too. And honestly, I just want to get this out. So, yeah, how'd you enjoy it? Who knows, maybe I'll come back and watch those last 2 episodes of this show at some point and give my opinion on that as well. But if you liked this deviation from my normal content, leave a like, show some support. I would love to talk about things that I hate for YouTube content, because I mean, honestly, this is a lot easier to set up than my whole recording setup for gaming. So if this does well, then I would vastly prefer doing this to setting up that whole fucking contraption again. Anyway, yeah, drop a like, leave a comment, tell me something that you think I should watch and talk about on this series. Anyway, bye, I guess.